Thanks for joining us today. We are Preschool Chicas, and we are excited to talk to you all about Inclusion Classroom. This is our very first presentation in our core lesson series. So our core lesson series is what we feel the foundation of an inclusion classroom. In our experience, we have found that these lessons are the gateway to better classroom management, stronger curriculum, and healthier teacher-student relationships. So here we go. Build a bond, our very first lesson. So how do we build a bond with our little friends? Our very first step, I think it's probably the most important, because if you don't have a bond with your little one, then you can't really do anything else. So again, foundation, how to build a bond. Here we go. First is acceptance. So what does that mean? What does that look like?
I mean, it's knowing their personality and knowing that this is how the child is. You know, accepting them for who they are as a person, their personality traits, what they bring to the classroom, just overall.
Letting go of expectation is probably my number one thing. Like, if a little friend walks through your door and you size them up, you're already setting yourself up for failure.
Or if you heard something from the classroom previous.
Exactly.
And you've already taken what the teacher or what the classroom aide or what the administrator or anybody that has said, oh, this is how this child is. I think that's part of that acceptance or of that learning of that child.
Exactly. So letting go of expectations, just, something that you want to happen a certain way, you just have to let it go, because each friend has their own way. So I did read about something. Instead of expectation, what you have is expectancy. So in expectation, what's happening is that you're being very rigid about this is what's going to happen. So in expectancy, you still do have, expectations, but you don't define them. You're not like, it's going to happen at this time, or this is the way it's going to happen. It's just kind of a guideline to kind of get you to where you want to go, but you're not, putting them in this rigid box of expectations. Right. So expectancy versus expectation. I think when I read that, I was like, okay, I like that, because you don't want to not have expectation for your kids.
Right. You need order in the classroom. You
exactly.
need children to know what, the classroom boundaries and things like that.
So definitely expectancy is what you want to look for. So the next thing, I think, letting go of prejudice. That could mean racism, sexism. I learned this new word. It's called lookism. I guess the way a person looks. Again, being in the LGBT community, disability-based, religious-based, even weight-based.
Interesting.
All those things you could be prejudiced about. So letting go of prejudice is another big one. That as a teacher, as an educator, you should be doing as soon as you see this little friend. Letting go of expectation, letting go of prejudice. Check yourself. So in Edutopia, there's this really great article that I found. It's called the website, the organization is called Edutopia, and it's a really amazing resource that we have used. They have really great articles about not just preschool.
Well, not just upper division, but also including preschool.
Yes. And that's what I really appreciate that, because there's not a lot of organizations that
include us.
Include preschool. So Edutopia does. So this really great article, it's called Bias Starts as Early as Preschool, but Can Be Unlearned. And when I read this, I was like, okay, well, I really love this. Because it gives you not just, background on what it could look like, but addressing social bias in the classroom. And so it gives you a list of things. Well, this is what you can do. And I thought that it was really interesting. So let's just go through some of these. Be aware that children possibly at an earlier age than expected, because some people don't think that kids can be biased or prejudiced this young, but they can. And we have seen it. We have seen it in our classroom. And again, addressing them is part of, making sure that your classroom is inclusive. So, so they may demonstrate bias and preference in their interactions. So making sure that you are aware of what's happening, making sure that, if you notice it, the next one is determine how you want to address the situation when bias occurs. So as an educator, you already want to have a game plan about, well, this is how I'm going to address this if I see it happening. Each different situation is going to be unique because, obviously children are all different, but you can have guidelines, kind of giving you like, this is what I do want to do. This is what I want to stay away from. The number one thing that they really talked about in this section is not to ignore what is happening. So don't just allow it to happen in your classroom and not address it and think it's going to go away, or not affect what's happening in your classroom, especially when what you're trying to do is provide an inclusive environment. So the next one, be mindful of the social environments you're nurturing. Again, we focus a lot on the environments of our little ones. So making sure that you don't have that you do have or provide gender neutral toys. That's just one example, but be really aware of what their environment is telling them about what should be happening. So that one I thought was really, really great. Understanding that addressing bias is a process. So it's not like your little ones are going to learn right away. It's something that maybe you have open conversations about often.
Or ongoing in your classroom culture. This is just something that when you come into this classroom, this is an accepting classroom. And so you're creating that from the beginning and then kind of working through that as you continue on in your school year, or depending on some preschools, the teacher graduates with the student, like they continue on. So you have that. But definitely part of classroom culture.
Definitely. So I really thought that article was super helpful in, giving us some guidelines of how we can create a culture of inclusivity and just kind of help us see the signs of, what, or give us the confidence in trying to make a plan, making sure we catch those prejudice. And the very last thing, other than celebrate diversity, obviously that's part of the culture in your classroom, is letting go of labels. So we did mention that sometimes you hear administrators or even parents tell you, oh, my child is bad, or any type of label that is put on a child, even
the biter.
Yes.
The hitter, the one who doesn't eat his lunch, the one who starts fights, the aggressor.
Or even things that you think are positive in nature, like, oh, he's just shy, or oh, they're so smart. Things like that you want to stay away from. Yeah, from any label that is going to enclose them into for you not to be able to see the true child, because you're already setting them up with labels. So what we do want to do, and we'll talk more about this, is we want to label the behavior, because there is behavior that is, not acceptable, and we do want to address it. So we do want to let them know, like, okay, I think that right now you're not listening, things like that. Then you want to address the actual behavior, not anything to do with the child, but how they are acting in that moment. Not in general, not this is who they are, but in that moment when it's happening, you can label the behavior. So number one, if you have that acceptance, If you do these things, you're off to a really great start. And you can move on to the next awesome and wonderful thing, which is to interact with your little friends. Now, we have always worked in a classroom where, as a teacher, we've had 12 friends to ourselves. Sometimes we've been team teachers, where we have 12 friends and working with 2 teachers. We've worked in a school where we've had a whole team, but more than 12 friends. Teachers. Yeah, more than 12 friends, or even I don't remember exactly what the ratio was, but when you are working with that many students, this young, it's a little bit difficult to try and interact with them individually, but you do want to make sure to find times to interact with each one. So
it is difficult to all do it in one setting.
Yes.
Or if you're trying to do it all in a circle time, or do it or do it all in dramatic play time, or do it all in block play. That's difficult.
Yeah, what I mean is, when you have the goal of getting to know each of your little friends, and you still have to run a classroom, trying to insert interaction with them individually, it seems a little bit difficult. But so some of the things that we do in our classroom is to just listen and observe these little friends during their playtime. When they greet them in the morning and they bring a special toy, I pay attention, or have a little conversation about, you brought this pizza today, and
which they have the wooden pizza.
Yeah, the little wooden pizza toys. And just pay attention to some of the things that they enjoy or that make them happy.
And some friends are very verbal about what they like and what they don't like, and some friends really kind of are still trying to figure that part out. They don't really know, but they kind of like a little bit of everything. So just paying really close attention into what they like.
Yeah, and I really think that the listen and observe part of it really stems from friends, at least in my experience, from friends that are nonverbal. So they can't really tell you, I really like
music and movement,
Blippi, or so you just kind of have to watch and observe what it is that they're doing, what they get excited about, and from there you can kind of take ideas of how you can interact with this little friend. So one-on-one interactions is another one that you could do. Now, I still have friends that I potty train, so potty training time for me is one-on-one time with them. So that's a time that we really talk about, some of my little friends are really into dinosaurs, and so we talk about, the dinosaurs, what they eat, and, questions that my little friends may have. But it is one-on-one interaction that I can have with them. That is a really, really awesome building a bond time that you can do.
Yes, diapering,
potty time. Even when you're putting your friends down for a nap, just, obviously you're not going to be having full-on conversations, but commenting here and there about how they're feeling.
Transition time is a really
transition time is actually great as well. During outdoor time, when they're all kind of doing their own thing, and you kind of go around the yard and see, you can have different interactions with them one-on-one while they're playing with their sensory, different sensory bins and stuff. So making sure you find time to have those one-on-one interactions with all of your friends in your classroom will help build a bond with them.
So, and know that each bond takes, some are quicker to bond and some take a little bit longer, and that's okay too.
And
we
you
can
know
talk
what?
about that.
And you know what?
Definitely.
That's actually a great thing that we can focus on right now. Building a bond doesn't mean that it's gonna happen
instantly.
I
mean, with some, it can, but with others, it just takes a little bit longer.
And I think with us, we've experienced where Sandra has bonded with a friend faster than I have, and it takes
or
me
vice
more
versa.
Time. Or, these friends take to one of us a lot faster.
That's true.
So again, the bonding, it has its own timing. Your goal is to just make sure that you're always trying, to find a way to connect with them.
And how you can connect with them.
Yes.
Because, like I said, some friends are really, really quick. Like my babies, that I'm their primary right now, it was pretty quickly to bond with most of them. There was one that took me a little bit longer, but finally it was through the process of us going through our day, going through routine, going through feeding, and really it was the feeding that really helped, and the signing, when I would sign with him, and he would see that I wanted him to be successful, and I loved him through what I was helping him with. And then finally, I think it was just one day, it was like, oh, yay, you're happy to see me. And I'm glad you're happy to see me, and I'm here going to help you. And it kind of just, you kind of feel that moment of, yes. Okay, we got it.
Good. Yeah. And I think as a teacher, when you have reached a point of, okay, we have bonded. It does, like you said, it feels
like, okay, finally, we got it. Yay, yeah. We got it. Mm-hmm.
So really, I want to focus a little bit on what one-on-one interaction might look with maybe a neurodiverse friend on the spectrum. If you've had any experience, or share an experience that you've had, and talk about maybe what a one-on-one interaction would look like with a friend.
With a friend on the spectrum, or a friend with special needs. A neurodiverse friend. I mean, I've had quite a few, but to think of the one that I've had most recently, it was really through music. He loved to dance, loved to hear music and loved to dance. And so when I knew that the one attention that he would get, it was just like if I put on one of his favorite songs, and we danced together. There was no eye contact. There was no talking. It was just, we were both dancing and being silly. And he knew that, he would look at me and he would say if he wanted more. He would just glance at me, actually. He would just glance at me, or he would just say more. And, other friends would join in, but it was just an activity. And it was just really great to see that was, that he loved music. And that's how I was able to build a bond with him. It was just like, okay, do you want to do music? Do you want to dance? And that's how we did it with this particular friend. Although we've had quite a few.
So how would one-on-one interaction or, building a bond with an infant look? Because I know that, it's a lot easier with friends that can talk, or a little older that can already express feelings, with their emotions and things. But what about with our little infant friends, and how we build a bond with them? Because they are also part of our classroom.
Yes, they are. They are part of our classroom. They're part of our school. Again, I observe to see how they like to play. Some of them are very independent from very early on, and they kind of just need their space. Some friends love, physical touch. They love, hugs. Some friends, it's, just through me being accessible, and they, come over, or they, I hug them, or I hold them, and we sing together, or we read books together, or sometimes if I'm, doing something and I could feel the little tug on my leg, it's really just the attention that they're looking for. So, with them, with infants, it's so subtle. that sometimes we miss it. And that's one thing that I've learned as an infant teacher, that, you know, for many, many years, it's like those little teeny tiny cues of, I want to sing, but it's only for a couple seconds. I want to sing with you, or I want to sing Wheels on the Bus a million times, and I have to sing it a million times.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
So what I have found is that it's a little bit easier
with babies,
with with our little friends. For the most part, there are some little friends that are a little bit tougher, you know, because their
personalities.
Change is a little bit difficult, and so bonding with a whole new person is difficult. But for the most part, you know, if you give them what they're looking for, which is their, you know, basic needs, then you know, interacting with them, like you said, is a little bit easier.
Right.
So my next one that I wanted to focus on was how that differs the one-on-one interaction with the group interaction. So I know that, you know, it's still interaction, but the group interaction to me gives that particular little friend the validation that they are important amongst their peers. So that brings an entirely new confidence when it comes to, you know, the bond that you're having with them or trying to build with them. So, including other friends in the interactions that you have with them, with, you know, like if you're having a one-on-one conversation about dinosaurs, and then you include other friends, you know, they feel like important because they know all about these dinosaurs, or you know, just validation, I think, is the biggest thing that they get from this group interaction, where you're saying what you like, what you love is important.
Right. It matters.
It matters.
Right. So, and then a lot of what I do, and to help build the bond, is that knowing what if I hear a play outside, or if I hear something, or I'm observing something outside, I try to bring it into the classroom. For example, circle time is a really big part of that group interaction. Yes. And so sometimes throughout the day, because our circle time's in the afternoon, it's just that's the way that our flow is right now. That's what works best for our program. And so we, you know, I kind of hear what they're playing. I kind of hear what they're doing outside. And so I'm asking questions outside. So by the time we get to circle time, it's now become a group discussion of, oh, you know, these are carnivorous, or these dinosaurs are this. They're really into dinosaurs right now.
Yes, they are.
They're all of them are really, which is, again, it's something that they really like. And we've been told that they go to museums, or they've gone to the zoo, or they've gone to exhibits that, you know, that they have dinosaurs, which I think it's great. And we talk about it. And if I can, I squeeze a book in there about dinosaurs, or different things like that, just because I want them to feel validated, and I want them to know that I see them, that I see what they're interested in, or if they have like a family memory that's coming up, or just anything that they want to do. I try to incorporate it either throughout the day by having a book, or by having a story, or by having a music, like something in related to where I know it's like, hey, I was talking about that. Like, hey, I was thinking about that. Hey, it was. Or even George, who's our cook, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I was talking about sandwiches, and that's what we're having for lunch today. You know what I mean? Something is small like that is not small to them. It's a lot. It's a huge
and
part
again,
of bonding.
It leads to what we want with this whole, you know, goal is to bond. So that's actually a really great segue to the next really big component, which is sharing their interests. So you've observed, you've listened, you've interacted, and you kind of know, like we were saying, that our little friends are really into dinosaurs right now. Well, how can you show them that you want to share their interests? You know, and tell them, well, I love what you love too. And, you know, again, I don't look flippy, but how can I show you that I'm interested in what you're interested in? I've watched
the videos.
So, I think one of the things that I put on here publicly talk about what their interests are. And what does that really look like? So I know right now our kids are into dinosaurs. So I went on Amazon and I bought a dinosaur shirt.
You did.
And so a lot of our friends,
yeah,
a lot of our friends will, what dinosaur is that? What dinosaur is that? And so that is a way that I, was able to show them, like, oh, I love dinosaurs too. And we can have conversation about them together.
Right.
And a way that I can show my interests. Like, they're interested. So here's my shirt about dinosaurs.
Right. No, for me, it was when I knew that they were interested, I told them that I went, when I lived in Chicago, I went to the Natural History Museum there. And that's where Sue was. Mm-hmm. And, I showed him a picture of, this is me when I went to go see Sue, and it was a long time ago because, I'm not 20 anymore. And, and they were like, oh, I've seen their fossils and and I was interested in this. And this is when I went to go see, and I was really excited to go see Sue and this Tyrannosaurus Rex and what, what was the story of Sue. And then we got into what her story was. And so it was really important to them for me to know, like, this is what they love and this is what they're interested in. So
exactly. And another way that we do, you talked a lot about a circle time, but another way that we really do include in showing their interests is set up activities. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of sensory outside, and so I always have, like, if they're, again, talking about dinosaurs, have different sensory areas where we have the dinosaurs, and they, they're able to connect with each other, and then we can connect with them. Mm-hmm. Because that is their interest. So setting up different activities for them throughout the classroom is another way that you can publicly share their interests.
Right. And I'm the purchaser of the school. So for me, if I see something that I think that they would really, really like, I tell Claudia, you know what, look, I bought something new. And as soon as they come in, or as soon as I come in, because most of them come in before me, and I tell them, I'm like, I found something new. I think it would be super cool for us. And I'm excited to show you guys. And then, of course, we go through the rules of, the toy and, what we can do. And it's just really exciting for them, because I know they're just like, oh, this is something that I think they would love. And we, again, that's something that I tell them, without telling them, that I'm thinking of them outside of this environment. And I know it's something that they would love, and I'm bringing it to share with you, so that we can experience this together. So part of building that bond.
Yeah. And so going back to it, and I think all of these kind of interconnect with mm-hmm. each other. And so finding ways to connect with them or show their interest, that you're interested in what they're interested in. Mm-hmm. Personally, on a personal level, it's just a lot of the things that we talked about already, just be really interested in what it is that they love. And,
well, if I can add, another thing that I noticed, because here in our school, we set the menu. And part of that is making sure that we talk to them, or that they talk to us, oh, how did you like your food? Did you like this part? And for the most part, once we started opening our menu and saying, okay, what is it that you liked, or we're going to try something new today, and it looks like this. And even Teacher George would step in and say, hey, this is what we're doing in the kitchen, and what did you guys think? Did you guys like it? And that's how he forms a bond with them.
Yes.
Because again, he's the cook, he's the snack monitor, and it was really great to see that now they are able to put their own input of, I love the taquitos, or I love the, their dino nuggets, or I don't know what it is that he serves them, but he, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's how he's is
able
forming.
To bond with them.
Right, with them. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, going on to the next way that we can build a bond, finding their love language is something that we have done for a while. I actually can't remember exactly when I read this book.
It was when your youngest was like 3 or 4.
Okay, so
yeah, it was a while ago.
The 5 love languages of children. is what it's called. Author Gary Chapman and Ross Campbell.
And we recommend this book to anyone that we know.
Yes.
To anyone, especially friends that are neurodiverse.
Yes. Well, this particular author has the 5 love languages of everyone, like 5 languages of a marriage, of relationship. And actually, I want to pull up their website, 5lovelanguages.com, and I want to show you guys how we first learned how this could be really useful in our classroom, and how it has been useful in our classroom. And then we really kind of touch upon each of the love languages, because ever since we use this resource, it has been so much easier to find a bond individually with each friend, because we know what their love language is. So on their website, 5lovelanguages.com, and you guys can pull that up, you'll find it toward the middle. You'll find this little arrow right here, and you can look for, these are actually all of the different books that this author has. I have read actually several. We focus a lot more on the 5 love languages of children. The Secret to Loving Children Effectively. I love this, because this is not just a book for parents. Right. You know, we are educators, and we love children. So this is a book for us. So click on that. And then what you want to do is go look for the resources part of this, and go all the way. There's a little bit about, the person who wrote it. Yeah, Dr. Gary Chapman. But this bonus material is where you want to go. So they have a little children's love language quiz. That particular quiz is for friends that are over 12. They can fill out their own. But and there's a little study guide that you can have to go along with the book if you decide to read it. Really great read. But the one that we really want to focus on is this love language mystery game. So this one we have actually had our parents fill out. Because
that was such an exciting
activity.
It
was such a great activity, because they got to know their own love language as an adult. But what we did was, since our little friends, some of them are, nonverbal, or they're too young to, answer these questions
on their own.
We just had mommies and daddies, or parents
or
guardians to to talk about or choose. Well, what would this friend want? Would they say, give me a hug, or you are terrific? Which one would they prefer? So what it does is just has you go through the little mystery game and choose which one your child would be more inclined to say, or what they would prefer. So at the end of it, you have like it has different letters, and then you start counting. Well, how many A's did you circle? How many B's did you circle? And then from that, it'll tell you exactly what your love language is. And what I really like is that it kind of tells you, like, well, all my A's were really like I got a high number of A's, but my next number was like a C. And so it kind of shows you, well, this is kind of the order of my love languages, which we have also found that is really effective.
It really is.
So the 5 love languages that we keep talking about. 1 second. Oh, I just exited out of it. Words of affirmation. So in this love language, the thing that this person, or little one, prefers is to hear you tell them that they're doing a really great job, or just to
you finish that puzzle,
just to reassure them that what they're doing is,
you're working really hard,
is really great. So words of affirmation, acts of service. This one I have not. Well, I actually have seen a lot. It doesn't tend to be number 1.
It doesn't.
But maybe like a 2 or a 3, because these little friends love helping, and their love language is to go out and really help friends. We have had a few friends that was their number 1.
Yes.
And they're
helpers,
extremely empathetic children that they feel good when they help others.
Genuinely.
So acts of service, receiving gifts. I think that probably is a more popular one.
It is.
One of my kids is a receiving gifter, and so that's his love language. And you're a gifter as well.
I am a gifter.
You actually love giving gifts.
I do. And again, I have a love language that my number one, which is quality time.
Yes.
Acts of service would be one of mine. I love to give. So it's like a co. When I did my quiz, it was a co. My co is acts of service and receiving gifts.
Oh, receiving gifts.
Because I love receiving gifts. Who doesn't love to receive gifts? But for me, it's acts of service, making sure that everyone around me feels that I care for them and I love them through what I can do with them or for them. So
that one's definitely a fun one. Quality time. You talked.
I have quite a few friends that
quality time is just a friend that really just wants you to be there, and just you sitting down reading a book together.
Or just you being close by.
Yeah, just you. I have one of our little infants. She comes in to help me do our beds, and she just sits down and watches me, and she just loves being in the room, and
she just loves to spend time with us.
And that's just what, she loves that quality time. And then we have physical touch. So this is a friend that loves high fives. They love hugs. They love cuddle time.
That's our youngest right now.
So So they always want to be close by physically to you. So that's their love language, and how they feel safe and how they want to bond with others is physical touch. So, and if you read the book, you'll find, they tell you specifically, well, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And it really has been a game changer for us to understand that these little friends, this is how you're able to connect with them in a much faster way.
Right. And because we've incorporated, it's been quite a couple years now.
Yeah, it has
that we've incorporated to us right away. We try to learn, and right away as we're trying to bond with them, we're trying to learn what their love language is.
And as team members, we talk about that.
We do.
We talk a lot about, hey, I really noticed that this person, this little one.
And sometimes we don't agree about which one's first.
It's true, but it's important for me to hear what the team knows or has observed, because then I can go and say, okay, well, let me try this and see.
Which is true with our youngest.
Yes, and that's how we figure out, especially with our infants, she likes, quality time, and then it clicks, and so
or he really likes physical touch. He likes to be right here.
Yeah. And so it really does help us, kind of move along in that, trying to bond with them a lot quicker.
Right.
So that's a really positive way for us to really find.
And really for your friends that are neurodiverse, I think it's an awesome thing, because when we found out with one of Claudia's youngest, when we found out what his love language was, it was easy for other family members that had a difficult time bonding with him. It was easier for others in our family to bond with him, because he knew that he was a gifter, and it wasn't like elaborate or really big. It was just a small gesture to say, I was thinking about you. Like, when we go to get coffee at a coffee shop and someone brings him like a cookie or a cake pop, like it's something that small that, oh, thank you, thank you so much, or you were thinking of me, and here you go. And, that's how small it is, but I think it really helps our family.
And the book goes into detail, like a lot of some of the fears that parents have with each one.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Well, especially
that's on your end.
Yeah, especially for a gifter, like, well, how do I make, that's kind of a fine line. I don't want them to only think that I'm gonna show them my love through, like, your
love costs this much.
Yeah, so
I get it.
But the book that goes into detail about that, and I think it's a really amazing resource
Again, when you showed it to me,
to understand each of these, love languages and how they might manifest in each of these little friends, and even in yourself, even knowing your spouse's love language or your siblings' love language, things like that. It was a really amazing resource that we have found has been very helpful. Mm-hmm. So, really in all of this. In all of these things that we have talked about and trying to build a bond with these little friends, always looking for the positive. Because, with these little friends sometimes comes behavioral challenges, and it's kind of difficult.
With all of them.
With all of them. They all have something that they're working on, and we always talk to mommies and daddies about that. Like, we all have things we're working on, but always, every time they come through your door, like, always look for positive and really find good things that make them who they are. And yes, there's always going to be challenges, but when you are working toward building a bond, your goal is to have mutual respect, and that mutual respect, again, it goes both ways. Not, don't expect them to respect you and then it's not reciprocated. Right. Will build onto the most important thing which building a bond creates is trust. So the end goal for building a bond is trust. Once this little friend trusts you, everything else will be better. It's not gonna solve all issues. Wand. It's not, but it will definitely help you as an adult, a teacher, an educator, to be able to show them, like, okay, I need you to listen to this because, and they'll trust you enough to do that because you have worked really hard in building this bond and really connecting with them.
For safety, even safety outside, safety inside, knowing that, I'm not imposing this boundary because, I'm imposing it because of safety. They trust me enough to know this is for their safety. This is because I care about them and because we have a bond. It isn't because I'm mean teacher Sandra, or mean teacher Claudia.
Yeah. And really, when you create that trust, make sure that you really follow through in keeping that trust. Because children are extremely forgiving, but
they really are.
They don't forget either. And so you worked really hard to build that trust. You want to make sure to keep that trust. So just to recap, building a bond, you just have to accept them for who they are. You want to interact with them. You want to share their interests. And you want to find their love language. And all these things combined will help you, build on the trust that you want, the mutual trust and mutual respect. And that is going to help so much in your classroom as a whole, and especially with each of these little friends. So build a bond, go out and build a bond with your little guys. Thanks so much.